it just keeps getting better for the Montreal Canadiens, and while Patrik Laine's debut was absolutely electric, and this Laine Dach Slaf line has shown some serious promise for the future, that was not the only thing impacted by Laine's debut, as having him in that top six has seriously affected the incredible now depth on Montreal with the third and fourth lines having some metrics in last game that will blow your mind. We got to dive into the impact of Laine beyond his own scoring. Plus, Jesse, in a new exclusive interview for RG.org, Ivan Demidov's teammates were interviewed regarding his play, his style, and his personality, and the stuff that they said has a lot of Habs fans very excited, all that, plus a Team Finland roster update coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. And Jesse, we're going to start with our boys on Team Finland. And yes, I said boys, because it's not just Patrik Laine, it's also Joel Armia. Armia was the first player mentioned when Team Finland was revealing their roster, Jesse, and some Canes fans were saying maybe it should have been Kotkaniemi, some Utah Hockey Club fans say maybe it should have been Matias Michelli, but it's actually Joel Armia, and coming in there with that one-man Armia style. He always steps up in international tournaments, Jesse. He's that perfect bottom six player, and hey, what better way to boost your value heading into the trade deadline than stepping up on the international stage?
That's true. Kent Hughes has got to love this for sure. The fact that Armia is up there with some big names. We see Rantanen's on this team. We got Aho. We got Rope Hins. We got Barkov as well, right? But we're seeing that just like how Team Canada, they kind of opted for that traditional kind of NHL team construction where your third and fourth line, kind of a little bit more of those identity players. That's why Armia is on this team, because he absolutely fills a need on this team. You know, along with Lehkonen, you got to feel as well on that PK, a PK specialist, for lack of a better word, so good on the board battles as well. But also, as you alluded to, bringing that presence of having played, you know, represented Finland in international tournaments in the past, which is really important for this team kind of going forward with a very young squad.
Yeah, it's a really, really cool team to look at as well. Some young talent there as well, some veteran talent, but I think Armia fits in like a glove. And while he may not be the most talented player of some other guys who maybe didn't make the team, he's the best fit, and you can't convince me otherwise. I love Joel Armia. Can you imagine a PK with Joel Armia and Arturi Lehkonen? I miss him. But, you know, it is what it is. But Patrik Laine as well there, Jesse. He's going to have an amazing tournament. So just wanted to give you guys a little update on that. We have heard a bit about Team Canada, Team USA. I mean, those rosters, as of recording, are not official yet. It seems like Suzuki and Caufield will miss out, and Monty will be there. But you never know with injuries, Jesse. We might end up with more representation than we think. But I want to move on quickly to our Russian boy, Ivan Demidov, our boy Demigod. This guy, oh my gosh, this doesn't even come from his stats. It doesn't come from his quotes. It comes from quotes from his teammates. And you just got to hear these guys, seriously. This is literally, I don't think you could write up something better to hear about your top prospect.
You can't.
No, you can't. So this starts with Arseny Gritsyuk, who has been one of the best offensive players for SKA. Talking about Demidov, he dominates defensemen in practice. He feels very confident. He's humble, though, and that's crucial. Confidence is his strength, but he knows how to keep it in check. Okay, that's just one player. What about Sergei Andronov, another player? Truth is, we haven't had players like him in our league for a long time. He knows how to beat you, and his one-on-one play is exceptional, but what's really special is his willingness to work and learn. What about one more for you? From Mikhail Grigorenko, said he's a very psychologically stable guy. Criticism doesn't affect him. He always perceives it correctly. Sometimes he plays less, sometimes more. It's inevitable, but his reaction is always the same. More training and hard work. Jesse, like we said, there is no better way to describe him. Even Kuznetsov had some great things to say. We've heard Tony DeAngelo talk about him in the past. But to hear these psychologically stable things, to hear that his motivation is just to work harder, be better no matter what's in front of him, I don't think you could have picked a perfect player, especially for the Montreal Canadiens market.
And the accolades just keep coming out, right? From left, right, and center from so many players. And the fact of the matter is, because all of this is true, he's not just such an amazing hockey player, but it's really his mindset of what he brings to the game, that combination of that confidence and that humility together. You got to feel like Kent Hughes is loving that. That's going to be an amazing fit. This how Laine is having such a big, you know, trickle-down effect we'll get to. Obviously, that'll be compounded by Demidov in such a big way.
Man.
And like, Josh, as we know, right, that it's like, I was okay with getting Demidov purely off of just like the offensive skill. Like, yes, like draft him right away. That's our guy right there. But it's only really after you draft, like, you know, a little bit ahead of time about his personality and things like that. But it's once those draft vids come out, those interviews where you really got to see, you know, what he was all about behind the scenes. And that's where you're really impressed, because I was kind of shocked, Josh, because we're not used to seeing, there is like a certain stereotype of like skilled Russian players, but they don't care about defensive sides. Like Ivan Demidov just breaks every single mold of that. And that's about time. And I would say in Montreal, we actually deserve to have a player like that has the skill, but then is also just bringing that willingness. You know, again, that competition, as he said, he quoted there, what he needs every time, just more training, more hard work. That's his mentality every day. What's his key to success? Smiling, having fun off the ice. And he's been against some tough things this year. And the fact that, you know, this mindset has really served him so well and is really preparing him for the pressure cooker that is MTL.
Oh my gosh, I'm just getting so excited reading this. I've stopped looking at his production. I know he hasn't gotten the point in a while, but like it's getting beyond exciting, especially after seeing Patrik Laine's debut and Laine himself saying he's so rusty, all this, and he still goes out and looks like he's dominating. To think that Demidov is going to step in potentially on the PP1 next year, I don't want to set the expectations too high, but I also kind of do at the same time. So just to think that this guy this skilled and this dedicated to being better is coming to Montreal is honestly a blessing. Leave your love for Ivan Demidov down below. But Jesse, it's time to get into our boy Patrik Laine, and he's been the subject of so much talk online because of his debut. Everyone in the NHL is coming around to praise him, and of course we'll just play that highlight one more time of this goal. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful goal. But you know, this line was absolutely amazing. I'll focus on that as well, but it wasn't just this line, Jesse, that is affected by Patrik Laine playing, as we see the depth seriously get impacted. So we're going to play the slow-mo thing one more time. Oh my gosh, what a perfect shot. We got an article actually from Eric Engels that I'll link down below. I suggest you go read it. Same thing with the RG.org article, link down below. Yeah. But Eric Engels, he wrote about this. He said they came into the game having seldom found their best selves, talking about the Montreal Canadiens, but Slaf said he was playing with a lot of body. He made their defensemen give away the puck, and Slaf was really good. And also, Marty St. Louis said, I felt that line did some good work, and they showed me that they could be something really good. And before we get into the third and fourth line, Jesse, I just wanted to get your thoughts one more time. I know we talked about it in the stream last night, but the flashes were there for this line, especially with the energy that they all came out and played with, probably to try and get Laine on the board. It made me very excited, and it must have made a lot of NHL defenses very scared for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. That line really got them going in a lot of ways. And that's the big thing of why he really wants to keep them together. Martin St. Louis has hinted at the fact that he really likes this line. And it kind of makes sense for the ways because, like, he could very well be so good on that first line. There's no denying that a Patrik Laine would be good with a Cole Caufield, Nick Suzuki for sure. That's worth a merit. You got to try it at some point. But until we get that kind of that second wave kind of going, and obviously we'll get into a little bit more how that just affects the entire team, you need to keep that together. Martin St. Louis knows that he needs to kind of find that second unit, that second troop that he can put out on the ice to really get the results that we need. So Laine is just solving a myriad of problems right now for the Canes, which is swagger, you know, because I think that confidence, Josh, has been one of the biggest issues for the Montreal Canadiens this year.
Yeah, you know, and there's been a lot of people saying how Kirby Dach could play very well off of Patrik Laine. Laine is just a goofball, and I love it. Like, this dude is, like, unfiltered, but in the best way. He's not swearing or anything. He's just being unabashedly himself, and it's awesome to see. True. But you're very right. That confidence hopefully is exuding from him onto the other players as well. So it'd be really, really cool. But, again, it's not just that second line, Jesse, because as we've seen before, you know, with Laine in the lineup, this looked like a legit top six. Some people still questioning Newhook is what it is, but that first line with Suzuki and Caufield, second line Laine, Dach, Slafkovsky looks really good for the future. Well, that means that the third line's back to being Gallagher, Anderson, Dvorak, and I just want to read these stats for you. Again, credit to Eric Engels for bringing these up. I believe this is talking about Corsi for percentage. With the Islanders focused on Suzuki's line and Dach's line, the Dvorak line with Anderson and Gallagher got matchups in their favor. They tilted the ice, controlling 80.3% of the shot attempts and 85% of the expected goals 5-on-5. And it wasn't much worse for the fourth line with Heineman, Evans, and Armia. They were 71.4% shot favor, 76% of the expected goals at 5-on-5. Suzuki's line was fine. The Dach, Slaf, Laine line was fine. But when you have to focus on two lines, one with Caufield, one with Laine, with two lines of lethal goal scoring, you have no choice but to give up, you know, some room for the Anderson Ferrari, the power horse on that third line who had a phenomenal game, and our boy Heineman, who has a rocket of a shot, Evans, who's been amazing on that fourth. The impact of Laine is felt not just by himself, but by everyone else on this team.
Absolutely, because we've had that depth for a really long time, right? But now just people having them in the right chairs, like Marty likes to say, is this making the huge difference? And that's the reason why we got this players. We knew we needed it. And when Hughes made the decision, you know, not to kind of quasi replace Laine, even though he went out and got a player in the top sixes, we desperately needed that talent there. we were always going to be hurting until that got figured out. And now Laine has actually affected every single lineup on this team just because that skill in the top six is that important. The first line, freeing them up to do their things. Obviously, he's doing his thing on the second line. But then those proper matchups, we have those depth. Yes. But now just one move of how this really kind of changed. Josh, we're going to need to track this going forward, even for the next game. We're going to be have to look at that Corsi for that third and fourth line as a trend to possibly continue, because we know that the Montreal Canadiens have this. Gallagher right now is playing inspired hockey, and he's definitely not the only one, but just having players kind of in those right spots, it only makes sense that things are starting to kind of take shape for the Habs.
With the way Anderson played last night, and the way Gallagher's played all season, and the way Dvorak has bounced back in the last 5 or 10 games, I gotta say it. It's easy to hate on him, but this dude went from 43% on the faceoff dot early in this season when people were calling for his head. He's now at 55%. I just wanted to say that. This dude has climbed his way all the way back up. So there's been some real good production on that line. And when that's your third line, that could be a bit of a luxury. No, it's not the most skilled third line in the NHL by any means, but it's a line that works very well together and a line that works very well for this Habs team. So really, really cool to see the impact of Laine being felt everywhere. We'll see if that continues in tomorrow night's game. But in the meantime, leave your thoughts on this, on Laine's debut, on everything that has to do with Laine down below. We'd love to hear from you, because that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel like you always do. We're really, really honored to have all of your guys' support. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.